Before you say "I do" to your Prince Charming, make sure you're not marrying a psychopath in disguise. This true story of Vanessa and Richard will leave you in shock. Meet Vanessa Carter, a loving mother of two and once the wife of a powerful and wealthy businessman, Richard Cole, based in Texas. At first, Richard seemed like every woman's dream. Charming, successful, and endlessly generous. But behind closed doors, Richard was a nightmare. A monster hiding in a designer suit. He abused Vanessa physically, emotionally, and psychologically. He would beat her, threaten her with knives, and force her into unspeakable situations. For 22 long years, Vanessa lived in constant fear, trapped in a golden prison. Every time she tried to report the abuse to local authorities, Richard, using his influence and wealth, would bury the case like it never happened. But Vanessa finally reached her breaking point. She knew she had to escape not just for her own safety, but for her children. She filed for divorce and began the battle of her life, custody of her kids. But Richard wasn't going down without a fight. He demanded the children stay with him, insisting he could provide a better life. But Vanessa knew the truth. She wasn't about to let her children grow up in the hands of a violent man. The court battles dragged on, and despite the abuse, Richard seemed to win every round in court. Desperate and terrified, Vanessa made the boldest decision of her life. She planned to flee the country. But Richard found out. The first time she tried to leave, he reported her to airport security, accusing her of kidnapping their kids. The second time, it was worse. He falsely reported her as mentally unstable, and she was detained in a psychiatric facility for weeks, despite being perfectly sane. But Vanessa was a fighter. In September 2024, after months of secret planning, she finally escaped with her children to New York City, hoping to start a new life, far from Richard's reach. But peace didn't last. When Richard discovered she had fled the country, he was furious. He boarded a flight to the US, determined to track her down. Once in New York, he hired a private investigator to find out everything: where she lived, who she lived with, and her daily routine. But when the investigator sensed something off, he asked Richard why he needed this information so badly. Richard calmly responded, "I just need a little dirt on her for court." But the investigator didn't buy it. Something felt wrong. So he dropped the case. Richard then hired another investigator, and this time, he struck gold. They traced Vanessa through her son's school and eventually found her home. But Richard wasn't there for custody anymore. He wanted Vanessa dead. Throughout his stay, Richard relied on a local Uber driver, whom he grew comfortable with. One day, during a ride, he began to open up to the driver, rambling about how much he hated Vanessa and how he wanted her to suffer a slow, painful death. The driver, alarmed by what he was hearing, secretly recorded the entire conversation. In it, Richard asked the driver to help him hire a hitman to assassinate his wife. The driver pretended to agree, but the moment Richard stepped out of the car, the driver called the FBI. Authorities quickly launched a sting operation. An undercover officer posed as the hitman Richard requested. The Uber driver called Richard back and said he had found a guy for the job. Richard arranged to meet the hitman at a hotel in Putnam County. During the meeting, Richard told the undercover cop that he wanted Vanessa's death to look like a slow illness, maybe an injection of something untraceable. He even gave the time frame. Do it between November 28th and early February 2025, when I'll be back in Texas. That way, I won't be a suspect. That's when the trap snapped shut. The undercover officer revealed his true identity. SWAT officers swarmed the room, and Richard Cole was arrested on the spot, charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and abuse. Today, Vanessa and her children are safe. But her story is a terrifying reminder that sometimes the people who claim to love you the most can be your worst nightmare. Don't ignore the red flags. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.